Hey, you jackals. There's a couple of things I wanted to respond to. The response to this film's been good. A lot of people wrote me emails and said, hey, that was pretty helpful to me. But there's a couple of things here that I want to re-emphasize because I think they're very important. And the first one starts with this image here. The easy read that I mentioned before, right? This is an easy read. This is the kind of thing that newspapers love. It's simple, it's clear. Someone else said that the paper that they worked for, they always loved faces. So the action shot that I showed, which is this one, you know, he was like, oh, hey, the paper that I work for, this would have been the shot because you can see the face and whatever. So that's a really interesting point and something that I want to re-emphasize. It depends on who you're shooting for. So for me, because I shoot for myself, I don't have to think about those things anymore. But back when I was in the newspaper world, that was very, very evident. So editorial policy for a particular publication was always overriding the shoot. You could shoot whatever you wanted, but you knew that there was a good chance if something fell outside of the editorial policy of that publication, it was never going to see the light of day, even if it was the best work or the best pictures. I ran into this a lot when I was working in the newspaper world, where I was working, ironically, for a very conservative newspaper. Most of the papers in the country were a little bit left-leaning. This one was pretty far right. And so their editorial policy was very, very safe. There was only one time that I can think they broke that policy to run a picture that I did, which was of a guy holding a gun across the roof of a car in traffic, and there was a little kid in the back window, little kid, probably 5, 6 years old, with his hands up in the air like the guy was holding the gun on the kid. The guy was actually holding the gun on the driver, but the kid was the son of the driver and he was in the back seat. So it was a big deal, and our paper did not want to run it. The only reason we ran it was because the competing paper put it on the section front. And so our guys caved because they knew it was a really powerful picture, and that's how they broke editorial policy. But that's about the only time I can remember. But there's a couple of things here. This, my friends, let me go here. This picture right here, I think there was a little, I don't know. Sometimes I think when people watch films, they watch like 30 seconds of the film and then they start commenting and they don't go back and watch the rest of the film. I'm accusing all of you of having short attention spans and being distracted. Yes, that is exactly what I'm doing. This picture shows off my skill as a photographer. That's my opinion. You might think that skill is a 1 on a scale of 10, or you might think that's a 10 on a scale of 10. But this to me is a more sophisticated photograph than this lame-o picture. But this lame-o picture has way more uses in my mind than this does, because this is a little bit more visually sophisticated. For example, back in the late 90s, early 2000s, one of the big three American, what I'll call political magazines or international news magazines. So you had Newsweek, you had Time, you had US News and World Report. One of those started working with photographers who shot a lot of pictures like this. And it didn't go over so well because that audience is not looking to spend a bunch of time looking at pictures and deciphering what's happening. They are looking for more easy reads. There's an upside to this picture and there's a downside to it. The upside of it, I can say, this is how I see the world, right? I see a layer here, I see a layer here, I see, maybe you could say foreground, midground, background. I like it, I like the composition, I like the complexity. I think it's a very one-off moment. The reason this picture came to be, and it's not like I did anything special here, I framed it this way. You might say that's how I see the world. That could be something, but the reason I made this picture is because I don't stop moving. I walk and shoot and walk and shoot. I could have quit far earlier in the day. I walked by these exact people at least 3 or 4 times prior to making this picture. And every time I walked by prior, I didn't see this composition. I just kept going. I made a giant loop through this entire village that we were in, and I kept shooting and I keep going. That dates back to my childhood, my father's ranch partner teaching me a work ethic. where when you're in the field with intention and you're trying to photograph, you do not quit, you do not sit down. So I just keep moving, I keep moving. I came around this corner, and this is the kid that really caught my attention. I was like, that's hilarious. I've never seen anyone lay over the wheel well of a trailer in my entire life, and I grew up around trailers. So I thought it was kind of hilarious and funny, and then it just so happened that, you know, this kid's in the background and you had this nice layering. I could have gotten slightly lower perhaps and maybe had a little separation between this head and this horse here, but I probably would have lost this part of the person up here. So anyway, this picture I like. I can say this is maybe the most sophisticated picture that's in this stack, but it may not work overall. The other thing too is if I'm editing this for me, this one's out, this is out, this is out, this is out, and this is out. So right there, I'm gonna go to 4. Let me just zoom out here a little bit because I'm so high tech. Let me go here, go here, go here and here. Yeah, these are actually, why don't I just stack them? Can do this and do this. These are probably the 4 that I like the most. Someone talked about cropping this one and just doing the buckle. No, not for me. Definitely, you can easily read this picture at arm's length. So you can read the buckle at arm's length. I don't need to crop it, but 2, the gestures of the hands to me are really important in that picture. And I want to see more of the body. I want to see the Wranglers. I want to see the tucked in shirt with the buttons, which is the classic Western shirt. And the gestures, plus he's backlit. I love the light coming down his arms right here. So I'm not cropping like that. Secondarily, when it comes to cropping, I was trained to shoot full frame all the time because at the newspaper, if you ever went to court and you had cropped an image, the judge could say, is this the full photograph? And if you said no, then guess what? That's getting thrown out of court. So you never cropped, you always shot full frame in camera. It is a great skill to have. There's a lot of people that people seem really insecure about that. They think that there's some sort of like macho aspect to it. That is not at all. That was just the training at the time. I don't really care what you do. If you crop, great, whatever, doesn't matter. These are the 4 that I would say work for me the most. And there's a reason for keeping all of these in there. Again, that's my favorite action shot. These 2 prelims, you know, and this one is kind of, look at the distance, the spacing between this picture has similar spacing. This is a much tighter spacing. And then you have an action shot from the top. So this is my personal take on this. Do I need both of these? Probably not. But you know what? I mean, I'm not working for a paper anymore, so I can do whatever the heck I want. I do, again, mention this before. I like this image. I like the crop. I like the fact she's about to step out, the carrot, the little burro looking at the carrot. So I would probably do this. If I had to get rid of one of these, I'd probably get rid of that. And I would probably, the thing I have, the challenge I have with 3 is not cutting to 3. I mean, if I had to cut to 1, I'd cut to 1, which is what you have to do with the paper most of the time. So I'm used to it. For those of you out there who think this is a really difficult thing, or, you know, I joke about being merciless, but this is what you have to do to make the best possible work. You cannot make books and magazines and zines if you're leaving in too many photographs. People will get bored, they will stop looking, and they will understand subconsciously that you do not know how to edit. So editing down, putting the screws to the work like this is really important. It's always good to go top 8 or 10, top 5, top 3, single most important image. And oh, by the way, if you're making a book cover, your single best image may not land on the cover. It may not even land in the book. So it's about story, and if it plays part of the story, great, and if not, okay, so be it. This picture is so right-leaning, right-heavy to me, because as you can see, it's an action shot, right? But everything is headed this direction. So that's a left-facing page in the book for sure. Like I can't really do much with that on the left-hand page. That's why I always, when I'm laying stuff out, it always feels that, you know, I've got to put it on the left-hand side because it's so right-weighted. The same for this. Even though these two burrows are going this way, this guy's face is going this way, so it feels right-leaning to me. This isn't. So to me, I mean, you could start with this and go prelims and action if you're a chronological person. There's nothing wrong with that. You know, this kind of brings you tight, super in, pulls you back a little bit, gives you a little context, and then boom, racing. So it's the tricky part. Go here, like that. Maybe, I don't mind. Like if I was doing a triptych mailer to send out for promotion, and that belt buckle was in the middle and the sides folded out, and you had that image on the left and image on the right on separate folds coming out. I used to do accordion promo pieces all the time, and so this would work for that. But I think the real key here is going from 8 images to 3, and then if you had to, saying, okay, I was sent to go cover the burro races for someone, and I think you have something, you know, the action, it is after all a race. It is not a documentary about a burro, it's a documentary about a race. So I would do that. And that's kind of my second take on this whole mess. So, I've been listening to the Black Crowes all morning. When's the last time you listened to the Black Crowes? I highly recommend it. Hopefully all of you are ready and raring to go after a piping hot breakfast of microplastics. That's the kind of thing to start the day right. So, the sequencing thing is pretty fun, right? This is the gist of being a photographer. If you read the little blurb that I attached to the first episode of the sequencing film, the one I released a couple of days ago, you'll see that I was writing about photographers who talk about doing something and then photographers who actually do it. And I think there's a lot of folks, especially in the online space, that talk about it. It's much easier to talk. I've been guilty of it myself. And but really the photographers that are interesting, that are doing good work, that are the ones that are getting book deals and doing exhibitions and shows, they're focused on the work. They're not focused on the front end of the equation. They're focused on the back end of the equation. And once you've been around those folks and you've been able to talk to them, hang out with them, experience how it is that they put these pictures together, the front end of the equation, while important to find something that works for you, pales in comparison to the back end. It's sexy, the front end. It's sexy and it's easy because there's new stuff all the time, constantly new things arriving. But if you're thinking about that and talking about it and you're never purchasing it and using it, then it doesn't matter. So again, you're not hurting anybody, you're not cat juggling, but you could be if you feel like it. It's the back end that is so intriguing and interesting. So this is really where the real stuff happens. And by the way, I can look outside and the squirrel, the giant dog-like squirrel is on the feeder. He's taunting me because he knows I'm recording and I can't go out there. And he's not even laying in it now. He's just sitting on the side and he's literally looking in at me because he can see in the house. The guy's like I don't know, he's transcendent as a species. I helped rescue a mini pony yesterday morning, and that is a story I will save for another day, but it's typical of life in New Mexico.